Welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique, the podcast series where we chat about shit with inspirational people from all walks of life. Today we are joined by the wonderful and inspiring Giovanni from Colostomy UK. We hope that you enjoy this conversation. Giovanni, welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you so much for being here. Perhaps you start maybe introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit about Colostomy UK and where you're from, la 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 la.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'm Giovanni. I'm the marketing and campaigns manager at Colostomy UK. I've been with the charity nearly 10 years now, which is bonkers if I think about it. So Colostomy UK are a national charity. Despite the name, we exist to support people with any type of stoma surgery and those that support them as well. So we are a stoma charity, not a colostomy charity. We've been around in our current guise since 2017. When we rebranded to Colostomy UK, the reason to do that was to become a much more sort of like modern facing, fit for purpose charity for the 21st century. Previously, we were the kind of Colostomy Association, but we've been around in various guises since 1967. So we've got quite a bit of history. We've been Colostomy UK for 7 years now. And I think it's going well. We're growing each year. I think our impact is growing each year as well. We still have sort of like at our core the support that people expect from charities like ours, whereby we have services like a 24-hour helpline, which is it's a really vital service for a lot of people. Actually, it's run by volunteers, all of whom have got a stoma. So the advice they're there to give practical, emotional, and sort of experience-based advice. And it's hard to put a value on for some people on actually being able to talk to someone else who's been through what they through. And I don't think maybe when I first started, I appreciated the value of that as much as I'm aware of it now. We have a magazine called Tidings, which goes out to just under 100,000 people a year. We've got services like a befriending service, advice literature, but we've also become a lot more of an advocacy and campaigning charity over the last few years as well. And I think we've had to kind of shift to kind of represent the things that people living with stomas want from us.
Absolutely. And speaking of, I know recently, certainly, in the UK with the change of government, you guys have been championing kind of change. What has been kind of like the key things that you're looking to do for the community and kind of the key things that you guys are really championing?
Yeah, I think, it's worth saying at first, I think everything we do is evidence-based. We don't presume to know what people, I think we have a reasonable idea of what people want from us and what matters to people, but we don't presume to know. So we've done quite a few surveys over the last couple of years. We did a Stoma Aware survey in 2022 and 23, which was aimed at the challenges that people face in society living with a stoma. So not looking at the kind of healthcare side of things, but looking at infrastructure. So public toilets, return to work, things like that. And then we've run a beneficiary survey, which kicked off last December and closed at the beginning of March, which is looking at all those sort of like touch points in someone's life from pre-stoma surgery all the way through to kind of pre and post discharge, and then getting back to living with a stoma. So they're sort of like interactions and engagement with everyone from stoma nurses to GPs to going back to work to bag manufacturers and delivery companies as well, just trying to look at those touch points where people are impacted most. And then the idea will be to look at how we can better support people based on those results and how we can campaign and lobby with external organisations to get them to make positive changes that make people's lives better as well. So, with a new government in place, we did release a statement looking at what our key asks for a new government will be. And then obviously we have a Labour government now, so we'll be kind of looking forward to hopefully engaging with them. I think it kind of comes under two areas, if you like, what our asks are at the moment. One is around ensuring that people get the right information and advice at the right time and at the right stage of their stoma journey as well. We hear so many things. If you look at topics, everything from parastomal hernias to exercise to diet to leakage, the number of people that we hear, oh, if I'd have been told about that, I wish I'd known that post-surgery. Even things like rectal discharge as well, which the number of calls we get, the number of comments we get on our Facebook group, and that can really freak people out because they don't know that it's going to happen potentially. And there's just a gap in that provision of information at the moment. So, so two of the things that we're asking for is going to be a personalised care plan that's reviewed by a stoma nurse on a regular basis. So making sure that people, it's almost like a checklist, making sure that people are aware of and understand the things that may impact them, and that they've had the advice and guidance they need to make sure that they can support themselves, and the stoma nurse can support them as much as possible. The other thing is being offered an annual review by a stoma nurse in a clinical setting, because you can have the best stoma bag or product in the world, but everybody's body changes. You may put on weight or lose weight from when you were first given that bag of choice. People will develop hernias and things like that, and unless someone has a regular checkup with a nurse, far too many people do suffer from leakage, and what comes from that, whether it's kind of like skin irritations, the lack of confidence that leakage can bring as well. And as I say, you can have the best bag in the world, but if it's not reviewed regularly to see that it is still the right one for you, then I think the recent survey that we did, over 50% of people are worried about leakage. And, that can have if it occurs on a regular basis, that can have a massive impact on people's confidence. It can lead to them stopping doing the things that, society takes for granted, going to the shops, going to the pub, going out for dinner, things like that. So if an annual review with a stoma nurse means that we can limit and start to drop the number of people that suffer from things like leakage, it's going to have a huge impact on so many other areas of people's lives as well. And the other thing we're looking at is toilets. So our overall kind of statement on that is making sure people living with stomas have access to the facilities and resources they need when and where they need them. So at the moment, there's no legislation from the central government, for example, that means that local authorities have to run public toilets. So that's why I think over the last 10 years, over 25% of public toilets have closed in the UK. And recent survey that we saw that by 2030, Newcastle is going to become the first city in the UK without any public toilet provision at all. And that's because councils don't have to run them. When they're looking at saving money, that's one of the first things that they stop doing, because public toilets cost a lot of money. There's staffing, cleaning. They're quite prone to vandalism as well. So what we're asking for the government to do is put in place sort of like legislation whereby local councils have to run a certain level of public toilets, which makes sure that people in their area that have stomas and other hidden conditions aren't adversely affected, become isolated, etc. as well. And the other thing is around stoma-friendly toilets as well. So in an ideal world, what we're looking for is that all new builds include stoma-friendly accessible toilets. So I think, yes, you can argue that having any toilet open is better than none at all, and that's part of it. But a hook, a shelf, a bin and a mirror are the things that we ask for in an accessible toilet, for an accessible toilet to be stoma friendly. And that can make such a difference to people. You hear so many stories about people having to lay their supplies out on the floor because there's no shelf for them, for example, or nowhere to hang their coat because there's no hook. Not everyone is lucky enough to be able to kind of look down and see their stoma. So a full length mirror means that someone can look in the mirror and actually change their bag properly, and again less likely to suffer from leakage and things like that. And then obviously a disposal bin. So from a toilet's point of view, it's two sides. One, it's for all new builds to be stoma friendly, and then the other side is to ensure local authorities provide a level of public toilet provision that means people living with stomas don't face that sort of like isolation and social exclusion. So we're quite hopeful. Obviously, there's two government departments that we'll be looking to talk to with that. One's the Department of Health and Social Care around sort of like stoma management, if you like, and then the Department of Housing and Communities around public toilets. So we'll be looking to find the right people to get in touch with and start those conversations quite soon.
And that's super important, as you say, something you touched on earlier about the things that you take for granted or that people do take for granted that can have such a significant impact. I mean, I know that Stoma Babe, for example, Holly, recently went to a concert and, had a terrible experience with using the facilities and also just kind of that lack of understanding. I mean, she's very very proud and able to
Yeah.
vocalize that, but for lots of people it can be incredibly embarrassing. So will that kind of review extend into more private spaces like stadiums and football stadiums, or kind of we start with the local authorities and private housing and expand?
I mean, we're doing a lot of work with an organisation called Level Playing Field at the moment, who are a charity that look to make sort of like sports stadiums as accessible as possible for people with disabilities. So a lot of what we've been doing around them is making sure that stadiums have got stoma-friendly toilet facilities. We've got some Premier League clubs that we're going to be announcing soon that have come on board, which is great. But, Wrexham's quite a high-profile football club at the moment. We've had a few Scottish clubs do it. But I think there's a wider education piece, and that wider education piece is around changing those perceptions that society has around stomas. I mean, we mentioned Louise Thompson before this, and then people like Louise and Adele Roberts and Molly Pierce and Tracy Emin and Matt Ford, who are people with profile who have got stomas and have all kind of started those conversations in the last couple of years. But they've been great at raising that general awareness around stomas now. So if I look back to 2015 when I started at Colostomy UK and the type of media coverage that there is now and how much more positive that coverage generally is, it's a different world. However, that next stage, which hasn't happened yet, is people are more aware of stomas now, but what they're not necessarily aware of is the challenges that people with stomas can face on an everyday basis using toilets, going to venues and things like that, and how the things that they do and the choices society in general makes can positively or negatively impact that. And I think that's the next stage for us, is in terms of kind of like campaigning, is going beneath that, what a stoma is and why someone has one, and starting to educate on the things that people can do that can actually make people's lives better. And it, like you're saying, it is little things like being more respectful, that little bit of more understanding around. It doesn't necessarily even have to be anyone with a stoma, but it's how society treats each other. And if we're all more respectful of everyone, as a general rule, then the challenges that Holly and others face are going to be less likely. But there is a big piece around a deeper understanding of the challenge, as I said, the challenges that people with stomas can have. And we're looking at, doing training with customer facing staff at quite large organisations across the UK. But to be honest, Colostomy UK are quite a small charity. It does take time as well. And the more people can support us, whether it's by volunteering, whether it's by donating, etc., the more we'll be able to do and the more quickly we'll be able to do it.
And I think that's super important, certainly with invisible disabilities, because we hear time and time again of, somebody who might be parking in a disabled bay or using a disabled toilet and objectively don't, look disabled. Not that I think there is anything, what does a disabled person look like? I don't agree with that stereotype in any event, but that because they, it's not so overt, that they get a lot of abuse for then using those bathrooms or those spaces. And I think that's a societal issue. That's something that we need to say, that we all say never judge a book by its cover, but that has to go beyond just surface level, that we all need to kind of play our part of doing more to be understanding.
Absolutely. And it it's a long-term infrastructure kind of issue as well. If you look at disabled toilets, and we're very much around it's an accessible toilet, because obviously disabled toilets, and then a lot of the signage historically is a wheelchair. So automatically that's kind of not helping with that sort of preconceptions of someone who doesn't obviously look disabled, as is in walking with a stick or in a wheelchair using an accessible toilet. So some of it is around signage. We have sort of like stoma friendly toilet signages as well, which is obviously, the sticker is a torso with a kind of like green cross where someone's stoma would be. It's such a huge challenge, and I think that's why it needs to start at the top, and it's getting kind of like government to treat people with stomas and hidden conditions differently, looking at people as individuals, not as a group as well. I mean, and there's a lot of challenges we have with people living with a stoma as well. We get a lot of pressure that we should be campaigning that everyone with a stoma should be automatically entitled to a blue badge. And that's not something that we're in favour of. And the reason behind that is because the quality of life of person A with a stoma can be so different to person B. And for one person, that blue badge can be absolutely life-changing for them. But for that other person with a stoma, they have absolutely no need for it. So we're very much still that things like blue badge provision and PIPs should be judged on an individual case rather than just because someone has a stoma, because the reasons why they have that stoma are so different. There's a lot of exciting challenges out there to start kind of changing the way sort of like society looks at stomas at the UK, and there's a real opportunity.
I really agree with you about treating people as individuals. And I think that's really something that has come to light with a lot of the work that we do, and also even the podcast, for example, how people feel. It is very different. Why somebody has the surgery is very, very different. And just lumping people as that, well, you're an ostomate now, is not sufficient. And I also totally agree when you're talking about that personalised care. Certainly even at that government level that you guys are championing, is super important, because what you need 1 year can change. And if you don't have a mechanism to get that support and help, it can be very, very difficult and can add to that feeling of isolation and feeling alone in and amongst all of the other feelings and emotions that somebody goes through.
I think the biggest thing we find, certainly from a healthcare point of view with stomas at the moment, is there's no joined up thinking. For example, there's a lot of work going on. We're involved in some quite meaty work with the Department of Health at the moment, and NICE regarding some reviews into sort of like stoma products that they're doing at the moment. And from our point of view at the moment, it's quite a good piece of work. However, it's just looking at products in isolation. And if I went back to earlier, one of the things that we're championing as a charity is an annual review, an annual clinical review, and also that sort of personalised care plan. So it goes back to what I was saying before. There's no point in, you can have the best products in the world and making sure that they do what they say on the tin, and they're going to limit leakage and things like that. But unless it's the right bag for that person at the right time, then the whole thing's going to fall apart. And there's just a lot more joined up thinking that can happen in the kind of corridors of power, if you like. And if we can get people to start thinking a slightly different way and not looking at everything in isolation, then I think there's quite a lot that we can hopefully do to make a positive difference.
And I think that education piece not only spans to society, but even within the community, that, to educate people to know that if this particular bag isn't working, that there are lots of others from lots of other brands that do different things that can and should be explored, and that you don't have to have, hundreds of different accessories for a pouch or for a bag to work properly, that there are alternatives out there, that there are things to explore. And, that with the right team and people behind you being able to highlight what that is, I think that's really important, and sometimes can be missing depending on where you are.
I mean, this is generalizing slightly, but again, generally we get quite a lot of calls onto our helpline, and it is generally people of a certain age, whereby they are struggling with sort of like leakage. They do have hernias. They do have kind of quite serious skin issues, and it's almost like they need permission from us to actually contact their stoma nurse to actually do something about it. And there is a percentage of, I think, of lost. I don't like the term ostomates personally, because I don't like that defining someone by a kind of condition, if you like. But there's quite a large percentage of lost people living with a stoma who don't have contact with a healthcare professional on a regular basis, probably haven't for a long time, so aren't aware of the innovations and the new products that are there, and kind of accept that things like leakage is going to happen, and it shouldn't, to the extent that it does in the 21st century today. And a lot of that is, we see a lot on our private Facebook group where people will go in and say, well, I haven't spoken to or seen my stoma nurse since I had my surgery, or sort of, for the last 3 or 4 years. But if you need help from, whether it's a kind of like healthcare professional, whether it's actually your stoma nurse in your hospital, or most of the delivery companies also have stoma nurses as well, and people need to be empowered to pick up the phone and actually kind of like say, look, this is happening to me at the moment, what can I do to make it better? Because like I say, it's the 21st century. People shouldn't be having a lot of the issues that they do in this day and age.
And when you say that they phone you almost for permission, is that, do you think, like a lack of confidence, or just a lack of knowing where to turn?
I think mostly it's that lack of confidence. It's people just want that, almost that acknowledgement from you that yes, it's okay to contact your stoma nurse or your surgeon or your GP or whatever. That that's the vast majority of it. I think that a little bit of it is, people may have lost touch with sort of like their stoma nurse or moved since they had their surgery and not sure who and where to contact to. But the vast majority of it is almost that looking for that kind of like permission to almost to say, yeah, it's all right to kind of get in touch with them and talk about the issues you're facing and see how you can be helped.
I totally agree. I think that's, super duper important. And it's amazing that you do provide that service to encourage people living with a stoma of how and where they can get that support. And you do lots of other wonderful and supportive community initiatives. I mean, we sponsored one, your Colostomy, the rugby team. Maybe you can talk about some of those other kind of support mechanisms that you give back to the community.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for the rugby league team, I think it was great to have Ostique on board as sponsors. Yeah, Team Colostomy UK is our rugby league team. We've been going since 2018. I think the idea behind the team is that we wanted to kind of challenge and change those perceptions that can exist in society about stomas. For the vast majority of people, it is life enabling. Yes, there's challenges, but it is life enabling. But society can often see it as sort of not life ending, but life limiting. And we wanted to kind of like show that if you can play what is a collision sport a lot of the time, like rugby league with a stoma, then people can do anything. And that's not to say that everyone is going to want to play rugby league or can play rugby league, but it's there to kind of, hopefully we're there to sort of, as well as raising that awareness, but also within the stoma community, to kind of encourage and inspire people to take on and win their own challenges as well. So for some people, it might be going to meet their friends for kind of like coffee or dinner for the first time since they've had surgery, or going to the shops, or taking up their own sport again, or starting something new. And we only play kind of 6 or 7 games a year because we want to be able to tell a story and create some impact around each game that we play. And if we play every week or every month, it just becomes another game. So we try to, have a lot of curtain raisers to professional team games, because by that way we're tapping into their supporter base. The clubs are going to be talking about it on their social media, on match days. So you're starting to sow those seeds of what stomas are, and changing people's perceptions as well. And earlier this year we launched a wheelchair team as well, just as another way of allowing people to participate, but also just kind of keeping it fresh and alive in a little bit, and showing that there's growth there still. And to be honest, the wheelchair team's been amazing so far. I think we've played 2 games so far. We have another one at the end of July, and people are taken to it really, really, really well. And yeah, as well with the kind of original team, if you like, we've actually started playing competitively for the first time over the last sort of year and a bit, rather than we had the attitude before that every game that we played ended 0-0 regardless of what happened. And we've actually changed it now, so a lot of the games that we play, you're kind of like keeping score, so obviously you're playing to win. And beginning of June, we actually played against the Welsh Physical Disability Rugby League national team down in Pontypridd and won that game 16-6. And what I've noticed is that obviously once you have people who are playing with us for the first time after they've had their stoma surgery, actually playing and being on the pitch again, and if they're playing contact, making that first tackle or taking that first hit, does kind of, you can see how people's confidence grows with it. But what I've noticed over the last year or so, when you're actually playing to win games, is just that builds a different type of confidence, I think, because there's a different type of adrenaline with players. If you're losing by 2 points and there's a minute to go and you score a match-winning try, or you're winning and you're keeping the other team out on your try line, those kind of like successes and the adrenaline that comes from that just builds a different confidence in people, and it's been really, really good to see this year. And I think
participation versus like fighting spirit.
Absolutely, and there's a different kind of fighting spirit there as well when you're actually playing a competitive game. And that's not to say that we're not going to go out. I think any one of you guys have been down to a couple of games last year, and I think the biggest thing throughout that whole day or weekend when we play is there's just constant laughter all the time. And I think even when we're on the pitch as well, you can hear there's a lot of laughter on the pitch. There's a lot of laughter on the sidelines as well. And we'll never want that to go. And it's always going to be about a group of people just having fun and raising awareness together. But like I said, there is something a lot more kind of enabling and empowering about playing a competitive game and wanting to win that game, because you can see that final score on the scoreboard, if you like.
Absolutely. And I will say what I've also found to be, I really thought was great, was the accommodation that you made when you were playing, so that for some players, if they were not comfortable with that proper, physical contact, whether that was currently or generally, there was something to say, like, this player, this marking is like, we play, but you have to be more mindful, and there's accommodation. And I think that's a really important message about that. We should make accommodation and allowances, but that you're still participating, you are still playing, you are still getting involved. And I thought that was a really lovely kind of balance as well, to like be accepting of, people's different abilities, but still allowing everybody to participate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll always want to be as inclusive as we can. And I think from the running rugby side of things, how we've done that is whereby if people wear gold-coloured shorts, then they're playing touch rugby within the kind of like full contact game that's going on. And that's allowed us, to make sure that people who maybe aren't confident to tackle yet and things like that can play. But also, I mean, you can't have mixed sport past the age of 12, mixed contact sport past the age of 12 in England. But by having gold shorts, that's allowed us to also to have girls playing in the team as well. And I think we've had sort of like 7 or 8 who play semi-regularly as well, which has been great. So, we are, as within the rules of a contact sport, we are as inclusive as we can be. And also the beauty of wheelchair rugby league is that it's open to people who are able-bodied as well as sort of like disabled. It's open to men and women and people of all ages as well. So it is literally the most inclusive sport that you can have. So I think bringing that in, as well as running with the yellow shorts for contact rugby games, means that, we are hopefully, I think, as inclusive as we can be at the moment, which is great.
But I agree, but I also think, as you said, that wider message of what it represents is super important. And there are lots of people doing amazing things. You've got Jill Castle from the channel, Adele Roberts, who did ice skating. But I also think it's really important, like the recognition of, you don't have to be doing these mad challenges and really pushing yourself, but actually even just kind of living and giving yourself the opportunity to recover and to live your best life is equally as important. But I think it's that message of do what's good for you, and know that you can push yourself, and that it's okay, but if you don't want to, that's also okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I mean, and I think what I would say to people is we've got a great team of volunteers at Colostomy UK. We've got over 100 volunteers, and they, support us through our helpline. They run our befriending service and things like that. But we've got, if people are, like you say, that normal living is so important, but it's so difficult as well. What I would say is, if you want to talk to anyone out there who wants to talk to someone, because maybe they are struggling with getting back to normal and things like that, and being able to do just the day-to-day things that they used to be able to do. And sometimes talking to someone else is so powerful, and just being able to talk to someone who's of the same or similar age, as maybe kind of like facing the similar challenges that they are. That is something that we do offer at Colostomy UK. We've got a lot of people with stomas as our volunteers who are there to talk and reassure and support other people on that, because everyone's journey is different, but we are there to support people whatever their journey is, and just make sure, and everyone's destination is different as well, just to make sure that people kind of like get where they want to be.
Totally. That's something that we at Ostique have also really kind of picked up on and harnessed. And we have an initiative coming out later this year called Ostique Connect, which is, similarly allowing people to support each other at these similar stages of life. And as you said, because everyone's story is different. And even where there are similarities, there is still difference. But having somebody who's kind of walked a mile in your shoes is always going to be much more beneficial. And in addition to that, I wonder whether we could just lightly touch on ways that people can get involved with Colostomy UK, because obviously you've got Tidings, the magazine, of people to sign up to and read, and there's an amazing amount of information in there. But what are the ways that people can either access you guys or even get involved and kind of give back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to say that we're not a membership charity, Colostomy UK. People don't have to pay a fee to access any of our services or our magazine or anything like that. The kind of strategy that we have is that obviously we need people to support us and get involved in us, but we want people to choose to do that because they think that we deserve it, because of the things that we've done that have hopefully had a positive impact on their life, rather than to be able to access supplies. But a great way to start is for our website, colostomyuk.org. Obviously, everyone who's kind of listening or watching this is going to be online. Otherwise, you're not going to be listening or watching to it. So colostomyuk.org is a great place to sign up. On the top right-hand page, there's a Hear More From Us tab. If you kind of like fill in the form there, then you can sign up for our monthly e-news, which is, we've got quite a lot of focus on talking about that, certainly through our e-news and digitally at the moment, talking through a lot of the things that we know impact people from a practical stoma management side of things. So again, we've spoken quite a lot about leakage in here, but things like leakage, sleep, hernias, diet, exercise. So there's a lot of focus on those sort of things in our e-news at the moment. You can sign up for that. Tidings is our quarterly magazine. It's available as a print copy, but also digitally. And finally, we've taken it into the 21st century. So it's not a PDF anymore. It's a very nice mobile-friendly flipbook version. So that comes out every quarter. You can sign up to register for that. We're always looking for more volunteers as well. Volunteering is a great way of supporting us, and volunteers can support on our helpline. We've got a Facebook private group, which has got over 12,000 members now. So we're looking for people to help moderate that, help us in the office, help with our campaigning as well. So we spoke about toilets earlier. We've got it's called Stoma Aware Stars, stoma friendly toilets, kind of volunteers, if you like. So basically we've got a pack that we've put together that includes everything that someone will need to go and talk to a local business in their area, or their workplace, about making sure that their facilities are stoma friendly. So the more people that can get involved in that, again, they can do that through the campaigns page on our website. And also, as I said, we are quite a small charity still. We do rely on donations from individuals to support us. So if people feel that there's a value in donating to us, that would be brilliant as well. And again, you can do that through our website. And there's also a donation form and page in Tidings magazine. And also from a personal point of view, we're always looking for more people who would like to get involved in playing or supporting the rugby league team as well. So again, you can do that through the website, and also check out Colostomy UK's social media. So it's at Colostomy UK on all the platforms.
Amazing. And I know that it's obviously a UK-based charity, and there are different associations like globally, but I mean, this is helpful information and that you provide for people living with stomas around the world.
Yeah, certainly. Everything that, we're very aware that we've got a really broad base of, we call them beneficiaries, so from 8 to 98, if you like. And whilst, the digital world is a huge part of what we do, and then obviously for anyone in the world, everything that we have is available to access online. There's over 30 different information booklets, from everything from rectal discharge to living with a stoma and dementia, support for carers and things like that. All of that's available online, but there's also a percentage of people who still aren't digital friendly and access digital easy. So that's why Tidings is a great tool for them as a magazine. And also a lot of our booklets and leaflets should be available in most stoma care departments as well, and people can kind of pick up the phone and order any of our booklets that they like as hard copies as well. So yeah, that support is available certainly online for anyone anywhere in the world.
Amazing. And we'll be sure to include the links kind of with this podcast as well.
Awesome.
But we are huge fans of Colostomy UK, the work that you do for the community, and it's been our pleasure to support you and to continue to support you, and watch this space with the government policy and changes.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But thank you so much for being here with us and kind of telling us a bit more about what you guys do.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thanks ever so much. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Have you seen the new Ostique skins yet? Ostique skins are revolutionary ostomy pouch covers that were created to make the wearer feel confident, sexy and powerful in all of life's moments. From moments of intimacy to lounging by the pool, conquering a workout or simply heading out to lunch, skins have you covered. Even better, they're compatible with all major colostomy and ileostomy bags. Ostique skins are available in a range of colours and skin tones, and they're made from a revolutionary material that's completely waterproof, high quality, soft and comfortable. Skins are easy to use, even with reduced dexterity, and they work with both closed and drainable bags. Plus, skins are also environmentally friendly and vegan. There are 4 bundles available to buy now, and you can also purchase individual skins. Head to ostique.co.uk to find out more.